want to talk to you today about a national treasure. And no, it's not the kind that Ben Gates found in the movies as he solved a bunch of riddles and stumbled into a room full of gold and silver and priceless treasures. I want to talk to you about one right here in our own backyard in Virginia, the Chesapeake Bay. According to the White House, the Chesapeake Bay was designated as a national treasure in 2009. And this was done to bring attention to the problem being caused by pollution in the bay. You know, I've seen firsthand those problems and the effects of that pollution. As a child, I started visiting the bay, and I have fished and visited there ever since then. And I've seen the decline in fishing and the problems that this pollution has caused. You know, God has entrusted us as stewards of this earth. He has given this to us to take care of for Him. And He's given us dominion over the animals, and we need to make sure that we're doing our part to protect the environment and to protect this national treasure. So today I want to share with you the problems that this pollution is causing in the bay and some of the issues that are going on there and the effects of it. And then I want to take a look at a few things that you and I can both do to help the health of the bay and to solve these problems. As we start to look at the problems of the bay, according to a Virginia Tech study, there's a 6-state watershed where water flows into the bay. So land from the central part of New York State all the way down to the south central portions of Virginia, all of this area shaded in blue flows to the Chesapeake Bay. So whatever pollution happens in this area ultimately winds up in the Chesapeake Bay. Now the big problem is excessive nutrients, mainly phosphorus and nitrogen, which are two of the key components of fertilizer. Those two components wind up, when being used excessively, get into the streams and waterways in this shaded area and eventually make it to the Chesapeake Bay. Now as they get to the bay, these nutrients get into the water, make the water really rich, and cause algae to grow. As this algae grows, then the problem becomes one of what is called eutrophication. Now eutrophication is just a fancy word that tells us that the oxygen levels in the water are being depleted by this algae, and it's causing trouble for our marine life to survive there. So much trouble, in fact, that according to a study by W.M. Kemp, shows that we only have about 1% of the oysters in the Chesapeake Bay that we had in the 19th century. So in 100 years, we've lost 99% of the oysters in the Chesapeake Bay. Now what can you do to help? Well, if you live in this area in blue, there are some simple things that you can do that will help out greatly. Number one, looking at your yard. If you don't need to fertilize your yard, don't do it. If you're happy with the way your yard looks, there's no need in adding these extra nutrients to the soil that may wind up in the bay. So if you like the way your yard looks, leave it alone. Hey, that's great for all of us. When you mow your grass, if you want to keep your grass greener, there's actually a proper way to mow. Mow your grass at about 2 to 3 inches in height and make sure your mower blades are sharp. This will make sure that your grass stays greener. Third thing, leave your clippings in place. As they fall or are mulched into the ground, they will actually decay. As those clippings decay, they add nitrogen to the ground. Saves you on fertilizer, so as long as you let those stay in place, you can cut down the need for fertilizer. Lastly, if your yard does need it, make sure that you fertilize correctly. Follow the instructions on the bag. Fertilize at the right times and at the right rates. And if you'll just follow those guidelines, we'll all be a lot better off. You know, the bay is in trouble. We're making some progress there, but we do know that we have a problem. And we've looked at what that problem is and how it's impacting the bay. We've also looked at some simple things that you and I can both do. God has entrusted us with a wonderful resource, full of wildlife, full of aquatic life and plants and recreation opportunities, as well as food for us. And we need to make sure that we're doing our part to safeguard that and keep that safe. So, I want to make sure that what we're doing really is looking out for future generations. My children, your grandchildren, we all want to make sure that they have an opportunity to see this natural resource and this national treasure saved for them. Thank you very much.